ASFG Stories. Hello everyone, this is Matt Bosarge, and I'm happy to share with you these amazing stories from the people who make up our vibrant community. Stories that deserve to be treasured and celebrated.
I am Dawn Marie Lussier, and I grew up in a small town called Somerset in Manitoba, Canada. When I graduated from high school, I moved to Winnipeg, where I went to university and got my teaching degree. This is my 35th year at ASFG and my 20th year as the elementary principal. What do I do as a principal? I do many things, but I believe the most important part of my job is to help create a caring, kind, and safe community where everyone is happy and able to learn. It's working with and listening to students, to staff, and to parents. I also work hard to support and inspire the 70+ educators on the team so that they can provide the very best educational program possible. One of my favorite parts of being a principal, though, I have to admit, are my weekly flag assemblies, because that's when I get to be a teacher again, and the teacher in me never goes away. The other thing I love to do in my job is promoting our community service programs. The sweaters and blankets for ONI, the appreciation boxes, and at the end of the year, we have a garage sale for our support staff. That is very near and dear to my heart.
ASFG Stories. A community kept alive by those who live in it.
After I graduated from the University of Manitoba, I got a job at Lincoln School in St. James, Winnipeg. I taught 5th grade, 6th grade, and I was a French teacher for grades 1 to 6 for 5 years. I loved my job as a French teacher. I had a French choir with 35 students in it, and I put on an annual French night with over 250 children in it. And during the summer, after my 4th grade of teaching at Lincoln School, I spent a month in Puerto Vallarta. I loved it. I loved Mexico. I happened to meet a teacher from ASFG when I was in PV. And that teacher said there were teachers from the US and other countries at ASFG. So I decided to check the school out just for fun. I went with my sister. We flew to Guadalajara. We got a room at the Aranzazu Hotel. We had no idea where we were. And then the next morning we headed over to ASFG. We rang the doorbell, had no idea because this was summertime and really there were no people there. But it just so happened that there was a high school principal there, or assistant principal, I believe he was. His name was Alan Hodkins, I believe. And he gave me a tour. I thanked him, I said goodbye, and I headed back to PV to finish my vacation. Then I went back and I was teaching for my 5th year at Lincoln School. In February of that same 5th year at Lincoln School, I received a telegram, not a phone call, not an email, a telegram. And the telegram asked me if I would be interested in teaching at ASFG. So I called the number and I was offered a job by Dr. Albert Argenziano. I asked for a leave of absence at my school in Canada, and I got it. They granted me a leave of absence, and then I rented out, I owned a duplex, and I rented it out for a year, and I headed to Guadalajara. I need to mention that I was making $35,000 a year as a teacher. And I accepted the job at ASFG for $5,000 a year. My friends and my family thought I was crazy, but I didn't care. I was just so excited to start a new adventure. It was August 1986. I planned to stay for a year or two, and then I was going to go to another country and try something else. And here I am, 35 years later.
ASFG Stories. a community kept alive by those who live in it.
At ASFG, I began in second grade. I was there for 4 years and enjoyed it, but then it was a week before school began, and the principal at that time asked me if I would move to fourth grade. Of course, another adventure. That was where I chose my story from. Fourth grade, I was in for 9 years and loved every minute of it. And I want to just give you a little. That's when we started study trips in fourth grade. We went to Mazamitla, and the largest group I ever took to Mazamitla was 120 students. That was so much fun. Then I got to thinking in fourth grade how we might help our students learn to better appreciate other cultures around the world. I wanted them to see that there were children around the world who live and act and speak differently, but there are also many similarities. And the idea of having Folklorama, my story, my legend, hopefully that will carry on at ASFG, came to mind. Winnipeg, my city, celebrates Folklorama for 2 full weeks every year in August. There are many pavilions in buildings throughout the city with dancing, food, and entertainment from a number of countries around the world. And when I shared the idea with the rest of my fourth grade team, they loved it. And so the journey began. That was 27 years ago. Throughout the years, I've pushed for Folklorama to continue because I've had so many graduates come back and ask if Folklorama is still going on because they loved it and they have such fond memories. Folklorama has come a long way since the first one 27 years ago. And I thank the very dedicated fourth grade teachers over the years for keeping it alive and growing in ways I never would have imagined way back then. And that's my story from ASFG.
ASFG Stories. A community kept alive by those who live in it.
What I've always loved about ASFG is that we have such a wonderful, caring community where we all get along so beautifully. Oh, and I love the hugs too. I have to admit, I am deeply passionate and devoted to God and the Virgin Mary, and so grateful for all that I have. My family, my friends, my health, my 2 boys, their families, my grandchildren. And I also love dancing to rock and roll music. I love playing the piano and eating popcorn. How would I like to be remembered at ASFG? Well, I hope it will be as a person who always tried to work and live by strong values and from the heart. Where do I see myself 5 to 10 years from now? You know, I see myself playing and traveling with my children and my grandchildren. That's the thing that comes most to mind. And what is my dream? I have to admit, I love coffee and I love chatting with people. So I have a dream that I'd like to have a small coffee shop where I could serve coffee and treats and convivir with many different people. Maybe even sell some paintings in my little coffee shop because I hope to start painting as a hobby in the future. And my favorite book, I have many, many books that I've read over the years and loved, enjoyed, but I really, really enjoyed the book called The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver about Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera. But my favorite book of all times will always be Love You Forever by Robert Munch, Siempre Te Querré. I read it often to my boys over the years, and I can't wait to read it to my grandchildren. I'm coming to the end of my career at ASFG, and it's very difficult, you know.
ASFG Stories. a community kept alive by those who live in it.
But looking back, it's like, oh my gosh, I've loved my 35 years. I love the people. I really, really do. I'm the best promoter of ASFG you can find.
Thanks for listening, ASFG. We hope you enjoyed this community story. Listen for us on Spotify or Anchor FM.
So are you going to move to Canada? I'm like, no. I love Canada. I love my family. I miss my family. But no, I love Mexico. Mexico has made me the person I am, you know?